Here are my $10 million real estate photography settings and workflow. Maybe thinking, Eli, like, where the heck did you get that number? Well, my business has made millions of dollars since I started shooting real estate, but more importantly, the people that I've taught have made far, far more than that. So this has not only been used in my business and proven to work, but proven across the students that we've helped. So this video is gonna be worth a lot of money to you if you do it right. Your goal is to shoot real estate and make money shooting real estate. So the first one and the most important are the settings. So many photographers overcomplicate it, and I just wanna show you so that you can just copy these and move on to the stuff that like literally makes a difference in your business, which is not this. So the main important one, and it'll be different on every camera, but you have to set up auto exposure bracketing to shoot 3 photos 2 stops apart. What that means is when I actually take a photo, hear the 2-second timer, you heard it take 3 photos. It's gonna take an overexposed photo, the lens is a little foggy, that's why it looks like that, but an underexposed photo and a middle exposure, it's a different word. Anyway, so what we do is we take those 3 photos and we send them to an editor who's gonna blend them together. So outside, you're able to get the shadows of the house nicely, the bright sky, but more importantly, inside you get like, you know, in real life, when you walk into a house, you see out the windows just fine. Well, if you take your cell phone's pretty good these days, but if you just take a camera and you like shoot photos, you're not gonna be able to see out the window. It's gonna be pure white, or if you expose for the outside, it's gonna be dark on the inside. So this allows us to capture a range of light that's more representative of what our eyes see and get those good photos with the good window views. So apart from that, settings wise, we shoot on an aperture of 9, an ISO of 250. Our white balance is going to depend on what we're shooting. So if we're outside and it's sunny, it's gonna be on sunny. If we're outside and it's cloudy, it's gonna be on cloudy. And if we're inside, it's gonna be on auto white balance. The most important thing though is that we're shooting on RAW, so all that can be changed. Now you may be thinking, Eli, why do you care what white balance is if you're shooting RAW and you can change it anyway? Well, it just makes it easier for the editors. It's more close to the accurate white balance. So that's what we do for white balance. Like I said, we shoot RAW. The other one that's important is the 2-second timer. So if you don't have the 2-second timer on, it's not gonna take all 3 photos. So if you're new to cameras, that may have seemed a little confusing, but you can literally just copy that. We're shooting as wide as we can go on 16 millimeters, which for a full frame camera is good, and focused on manual between 0 and 1 meter, between infinity and 1 meter. I have a full video on settings, but like that's the general what you need to copy. The beautiful thing about real estate photography is all you change is the shutter. So if you look at this right here, all I do when I shoot is I align these 3 lines, the center one with that center on the meter, and I take the photo. So there's literally no camera settings changes, and that's the settings side of things. So once you have your camera settings dialed in, you need to make sure that the photos you're taking actually look good. So this is all around composition, which is the second of 5 things. So first things first, the most important thing, what a lot of people do is they'll, put their camera, or not use a tripod, which is a huge mistake. Once they're on a tripod, they'll set up their shot and kind of aim down into the room. You don't want to do this. You want to have what's called straight verticals. So see this here, how this vertical line of the fireplace, vertical line of the fireplace doesn't seem level, where if I tilt it up, now it looks level and the house looks straight. So what you don't want is like these lines, these are the vertical lines in the image, to be leaning. And so we're always going to make sure our camera is shooting flat. Now on a tripod, a nicer tripod head like this, you can see there's a little bubble level, but really what you want to do is just look through the shot and make sure your verticals are lined up so you're not shooting down into the room. So that's the first one. The second one is around camera height. This is all part of tip number 2. The second one is all around camera height. So you want to have it typically around waist level, light switch level, somewhere in that range. If you go too high, it makes the house look super short. So that's what you want. And then when it comes to actually shooting, I have a full video on composition, but generally what you want to keep in mind is that you want to shoot either a horizontal angled shot like this, where it's nice and angled with the room, or you want to shoot perfectly straight on with the room. You don't want to have like a hybrid shot between there. So if you can do that, if you can literally shoot diagonal shots, straight on shots, and get your verticals right, you're like 90% of the way to shooting great real estate photos. One more thing on composition. I said camera height. I just want to give you one rule that goes around that. This video is just a bunch of rules to help you kind of piece everything together. The only time you really want to raise your camera height is when you're shooting in a kitchen. What you want to make sure is that your camera is high enough where you don't see the underside of the cabinets, because those just typically don't look that good. And also, if you're shooting that low, you just see a lot of the side of the countertop. So just bring your camera up in the kitchen and make sure that you're not leaving it there when you go to another room. On to tip 3. This one has nothing to do with your camera or anything, but it's probably more important than the first 2, which is how you introduce yourself and how you interact with the homeowners. So real estate's an awesome business, right? Real estate photography. You get to see cool houses, you get to meet cool people, but it's really a people business, not a photography business. And so when you get to a house, you want to always remember that your primary job is to make the clients feel like it was a great experience. And that goes for both the real estate agent you're shooting for and the homeowners. So it's really easy to like get in tunnel vision when you get to a real estate photo shoot and just focus only on your camera. But if you do that, you're gonna come across kind of like dry and not super fun to be around, and that's gonna make them not wanna hire you. And so it's important you know what you're doing with the camera, but just make sure your first few shoots, your first 20, you're probably gonna be a little nervous. Relax, remember to treat the other people like humans, have a conversation with them, introduce yourself. It's probably their first time having a real estate photo shoot. So just let them know like, hey, you know, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start on this side of the house and you can go over there, that way you're hidden, and just have a good conversation with them, right? Don't forget about that and get so tunnel vision you forget that this is a people business. The fourth thing is another thing that doesn't have anything to do with your camera, but again is more important. So kind of talked about this a minute ago, but if you're shooting real estate, it's really easy to get tunnel vision on your camera. And one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, that if you just don't do it, will make your real estate photography so much better, is to always have a second where before you take the shot, you actually step away from looking at your camera and go, does everything in this photo look good? So let's say, you know, you're shooting, you're new. What you're gonna do is you're gonna be like a little worried, you're managing the homeowner. There's a lot going on when you're first starting. And what you don't notice is that. And it seems like you're like, Eli, duh, I would notice that. I remember very specifically, I was shooting a house one time and I didn't even notice this. There was a dog on the bed and I shot the bedroom and I delivered the photos, and the agent was like, Eli, any chance you can edit that out? I have zero memory of that dog being there. A dog in the photo. And so stuff like that is super easy. What you're looking at as a real estate photographer, you're like, do the window views look good? Is the exposure good? Does the color look good? The real estate agent is like, does the couch look good? Does the home look inviting? And so you have to take a second. Where did this pillow even come from? Oh, in the corner. You have to take a second to make sure the scene is set up. Little things fixed. That is the number one thing that real estate agents are going to notice. So take a second to zoom out and be like, does this scene actually look good? Especially if you've done less than 100 shoots. Tip number 5 is my actual workflow for shooting real estate. And this has been refined over a lot of shoots. Probably shouldn't have taken me as long as it did, but either way, I'm gonna give it to you so you can use it from step 1. So from the time you get to the house, this is the order in which I do things, and I'll tell you a little bit why for each thing. So I get to the house, I get my gear out of the car, I knock on the door, and I introduce myself. I say, hey, I'm Eli, I'm Jake's photographer, and I'm just gonna be shooting your house today. And they're gonna say hi, and we're gonna talk for a little bit. Here's what I tell them. So they've never been to a real estate photo shoot most of the time, so it's up to you to direct. So I'll be like, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do if it's okay with you. I'm gonna go walk around the house, and I'm gonna prep everything. So I'm gonna turn on lights, I'm gonna turn off fans, I'm gonna open blinds, I'm gonna move some clutter. Is that okay with you? Cool. And I tell them that. And I always let them know, you can help me if you want, but feel free to just hang out, right? So first thing I do is I prep the house, and I'm kind of getting a mental model of like what photos I'm gonna take while I'm doing that, actually prepping the house. Then once the house is ready to go, it is very annoying to have homeowners in your shots. And if you don't direct them, they will follow you. And I promise you, they're gonna give you input that's not helpful. So what I do is say, okay, cool, so the house is ready to go. If you could do me a big favor, if you'll go hang out in that bedroom back there, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start up here and kind of work my way back. I just have a super wide angle lens, so I just don't want you to show up in the shots. So go over there and I'll work my way back. They say yes pretty much every single time. So I'll start over here. I'll work my way in order so I don't forget a room. Don't bounce around, it's kind of a disaster. If you can do it, but for me, I can't. So I'll start on one side, work my way back. Then I'll say, okay, cool, so I got everything inside. You're welcome to put anything back that you like. I'll of course come do that when I'm done, if you like as well. And then I go shoot the outside. And the reason I shoot the outside last is because I don't want to track stuff. You know, in some parts of the country, it's more common to take your shoes on or off or whatever. In Texas, we leave our shoes on. So anyway, I don't want to track stuff through the house. So I go and I do the whole outside, and then I come let them know, hey, I'm all done. And then depending on how they want, some homeowners you can tell like they want the help turning stuff off, some don't. So usually I'll go through it and just be careful you don't track anything, because that was the whole point, right? Turn off everything. It's very important to like leave the house as you found it, especially if no one is there. Make sure the doors are locked as a final last check. If the homeowners aren't there, and then just let them know, hey, got all these photos, everything's gonna look awesome. Pre-frame that, looks great. You want them to think these look great, so they think they look great when they see them. So homeowners can be picky. You'll let them know that tomorrow morning, you'll go ahead and send the photos over to Jake, their agent. And if they have any questions or anything, they can just let Jake know and he'll relay to you. But it's really nice to meet you. Have a great rest of your day. That is the workflow. And I encourage you just to do that every time to sort of systematize things. So those are my 5 settings and workflow secrets that have literally made tens of millions of dollars for me and my students. And I would encourage you, if you shoot real estate or you're thinking about it, just use them to start. It will save you years of trial and error. And speaking of saving you years of trial and error, if you're ready to launch your business and you'd like us to help you and basically give you our business in a box framework that will show you how to do that, you get coaching with us. It's just an amazing program. I encourage you to check out the link below where you can talk with my team and just make sure that real estate photography, one, is going to work in your market, that what you're trying to accomplish is actually what we can help you with, because I can only help you if it's stuff I can help you with, right? And so, yeah, just grab a call with them. We're a super non-pushy team. The goal is not just to sell you into our program at all costs, it's to make sure that what you want aligns with what we can help with, that it will work in your area, and we'll leave you with a game plan either way. So anyway, check that out, and I'll see you in the next video.